Clear light of day. Very short questions. Part 3. 1. What did Bim say about the association of Jumna with human ashes? Answer. According to Bim, Jumna carried human ashes down into the sea. She added that the river did the same with the ashes of Meera Masi when her ashes had been thrown into the sea. Bim expressed the wish that her ashes would be thrown after she had died and been cremated. 2. What kind of enjoyment did Bim and Tara have with the Jumna? Answer. By the side of Jumna, Bim and Tara played as children. Moreover, they used to bully the ferryman into giving them free rides to the melon fields. There they used to eat the ripe melons and drink their pink juice. Tara, however, told that Bim used to have these enjoyments in the company of Raja, not hers. 3. Who was Raja and what kind of enjoyment did he and Bim have? Answer. Raja was the elder brother of Bim, Tara and Baba. During childhood he and Bim used to go to the shores of Jumna and play there. They used to bully the ferryman to give them free rides to the melon fields. There they used to eat the ripe melons and drink their pink juice. 4. How did Bim describe the evening walk of Hyder Ali and its impact on Raja? Answer. According to Bim, during the course of his evening walk Hyder Ali used to come riding on his white horse. She added that he was preceded by his orderly and followed by his dog. Raja became impressed by the glamour of Hyder Ali and wanted to ride on a white horse with his dog following him. 5. How did Bim and Tara differ on the nature of the poetry of Raja? Answer. Bim said that according to her the poetry of Raja was simply terrible and that there was nothing in them to be admired. However, Tara opined that Raja's poem dealt with love, death, wine and flames and made her almost cry. Thus Bim and Tara were poles apart in this matter. 6. How did Bim justify the change of her attitude to Raja's poetry? Answer. According to Bim, when she read Raja's poetry for the first time, she was just 15 years old. Moreover, she did not know much about poetry then. She added that with maturity in terms of age she has found Raja's poetry to be nauseating. She added that Tara too would share her opinion if she read Raja's poetry now. 7. How did Tara react to Bim's changed opinion about Raja's poetry? Answer. According to Bim, she admired Raja's poetry but now found it to be nauseating. Tara felt astonished at this change of opinion in Bim and could hardly speak because of her astonishment. Since the change of Bim's opinion in the said matter was drastic, Tara's reaction was natural. In fact, she had admiration for Raja's poetry. 8. What did Bim want to do with the poems of Raja which lay in some drawer of a desk of their house in Old Delhi and why? Answer. Bim wanted to tear up those poems of Raja which lay in some drawer of a desk of their house in Old Delhi. Bim wanted to do so because, as she told Tara, these poems were nauseating and hence useless. Moreover, Bim had ill feelings for Raja and she wanted to obliterate his memory from their house in Old Delhi. 9. How was the relationship between Raja and Bim initially? Answer. Initially Raja and Bim had love and admiration for one another. Bim and Raja used to play together and enjoyed themselves by going to the melon fields on the other side of Jumna. Then when Raja became ill, Bim used to read to him those poems which he wanted to read. 10. Refer to a painful recollection of Tara upon her coming to their house in Old Delhi. Answer. It was Bim who reminded Tara how in their childhood she cut Tara's hair when they were on the terrace of their house. She also reminded Tara that the incident made her cry. It was indeed a painful recollection of Tara upon her coming to their house in Old Delhi. 11. What did Tara do with Raja's poems given to her by Bim from one of the drawers and why? Answer. When Bim handed over Raja's poems to Tara from one of the drawers, Tara did not express any kind of feelings. Actually, these poems were written in Urdu and Tara did not know the language. So there was no question on the part of Tara of reading these poems. However, she had a feeling of admiration for these poems. 12. What was the content of Raja's letter to Bim? Answer. The content of Raja's letter to Bim was that Hyder Ali had died, leaving all his property to Raja and Benazir. The content also conveyed the message that if Bim and Baba wanted to stay in Hyder Ali's house at the existing rent, they could do so because neither he nor Benazir wanted to increase the rent. 13. What was Bim's grievance against Raja's letter written to her? Answer. According to Bim, Raja's letter to her had a patronizing tone. To be precise, Raja appeared in the letter as the boss with Bim and Baba as dependents upon him. Bim did not expect such a stance from her brother even though he had become the owner of the house where Bim and Baba were staying as tenants. 14. What idea about the property of Hydeli Ali in Old Delhi has been provided? Answer. Hyder Ali owned half of the houses of that locality of Old Delhi where Bim and others stayed. During the partition riot of 1947, Hyder Ali sold most of his houses to the Hindu tenants at a very low price. As Bim did not wish to buy their rented house, Hyder Ali allowed them to stay there. 15. What effect did Raja's letter have upon Bim? Answer. Having read Raja's letter, Bim had the feeling that it was written in a patronizing tone. That Raja presented himself as the landlord and looked upon Baba and Bim as tenants made Bim feel insulted. So even if she thought of seeing Raja or asking him to meet her in Old Delhi, she did not put it into action. 16. Why did Bim decide not to attend the marriage ceremony in Raja's house, not to enter Raja's house in Hyderabad? Answer. In his letter to Bim, Raja presented himself as the landlord and Bim and Baba as his tenants. He also suggested that he was doing a favor by allowing them to live in the old amount of rent. Bim felt insulted at such an audacious attitude of Raja and so decided not to attend the marriage ceremony in Raja's house, not to enter Raja's house in Hyderabad. 17. How did Tara react to Bim's change of attitude to Raja? Answer. Tara could not believe that Bim's attitude to Raja could change so drastically. To her it was simply unbelievable and absolutely unnecessary. Actually, having led a neat and problem-free life in Washington, Tara did not want such a change to occur at all. She wanted to leave this place and go back to the United States. 18. How did Tara try to make Bim oblivious of her bitterness for Raja? Answer. Tara tried to make Bim oblivious of her bitterness for Raja in two ways. First, she tried to suggest that Raja was not conscious of the tone in which the letter was written. Secondly, she told Bim to tear up the letter so that the ice or coldness existing in Bim's attitude to Raja melted. These plans, however, failed. 19. How did Bim and Tara differ regarding their plan with Raja's letter to Bim? Answer. Tara wanted Bim to tear up Raja's letter so that Bim's attitude to Raja changed for good. However, Bim wanted to keep the letter because she did not want to forget the audacious if not inhuman behavior of Raja towards her and Baba in the letter. It was obvious that Bim wanted to see the letter time and again. 20. Why was Bim bent upon keeping Raja's letter with her? Answer. In his letter, Raja showed an audacious, if not inhuman, attitude to Bim and Baba. Since Raja was not an outsider but a member of the family, Bim felt deeply insulted at it. She did not want to pardon Raja for it. So she wanted to maintain her attitude and planned to use Raja's letter as a reminder of it. Clear light of day. Very short questions.